Good evening and welcome to the 38th Annual Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony. Let's give a big hand to the Ron Annerny Band who is playing the music for your dancing and listening pleasure. I would like to ask you that if you wish to talk or visit while the ceremony is going on with someone, that you step out to the front entranceway as a courtesy to the people around you and also the people who are being inducted. Also, once again this year, ladies and gentlemen, the Sokol Gym Club, Sokol Omaha Gym Club, is selling food and snacks in the kitchen. The proceeds will be used to offset the cost to participate in gymnastics and competitions. They thank you for your support. At this moment, I'd like to acknowledge and give a moment of silence for Barb Cephas, who lost her son this past week. Barb is instrumental in running the kitchen here at Sokol Auditorium and very instrumental in the gymnastics club. We would like to thank Mark Villadal and the All-Star Polka Show, KJSK 900 on your AM dial, heard every Sunday from 9 to 1, and also Mustache Joe Spellberg from K2B Radio 1340 on your AM dial, heard from 12 to 5, also on Sunday. We thank them for the great ads that they did for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame next year will be on Sunday the 8th of September, and the band will be Sue and the Blue River Czechs. Before I move forward, I've got to correct a mistake that I made at last year's induction ceremony. When I had the past inductees stand and be recognized, as I read their names, I somehow omitted one person in attendance. So I would like to have 1997 inductee Dean Fornoff stand and be recognized as an attendee of the 2011 ceremony. The letter of reprimand that I got for that Dean will last forever. The Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame started on October 22nd, 1972, and has been held here every year except 1975, 1977, and 1978. With this year's inductions, there will be 116 inductees, of which 72 are deceased, and there are 44 still with us. Those who are in attendance today, please stand as I call your name. From 1974, a gentleman that's going to be 100 years old come February the 27th of 2013, Ed Swoboda Sr. There he stands. Way to go, Ed. Inductee Ron Annerny. 1989 inductees Alan Balish and Dean Hansen. 1993 inductee Anton Pokorny. 1994 inductee was yours truly, Jim Botacek. 1995 inductee, Paul Menoshek. Once again, 1997 inductee, Mr. Dean Fornoff. 2001 inductee, Elmer Nimitz. 2002 inductee, Mr. Glenn Kocha. 2004 inductee, Mr. Mark Villadal. 2005 inductee, Edward Sonny Swoboda. 2006 inductee, Bob Stepanek. 2008 inductee, Ken Janik Jr. and Dick Janik Jr. 2010 inductee, Jim Koska. 2011 inductees, Mike Helgeson and Frank Sidley. This year, Sonny and I had a meeting with a few past inductees. There was a discussion on what to do about the 16 deceased names on the nominees list. So instead of just selecting a person from the list, it was decided to put in a separate category and have the past inductees vote for one nominee in the deceased category. This year, ladies and gentlemen, that happens to be the late Robert L. Bob Luksha Jr., who was born on December 31st, 1947, Omaha, Nebraska. His parents are Robert L. Bob Luksha Sr. and Dorothy M. Luksha. And Bob's dad is here today. We'd like to recognize him. And Bob's mother is currently in the hospital, had some surgery this week, and our prayers are all with her. Also is Bob's wife, Jane Zeleny Luksha, who is here today. Bob attended grade school at Assumption Catholic School and high school at Archbishop Ryan Catholic School, where he graduated in 1966. Bob then attended college at UNO and graduated in 1970. Bob got his first instrument, a drum set, at age 3. Then for Christmas at age 5, he got an accordion. At the age of 10 or 12, he got a saxophone and took a few lessons while he was in the 4-H club. But mostly Bob taught himself to play. Bob was in the Ryan High School band from 1962 through 1966. It was there that he received an Outstanding Achievement Award in band in 1963 and became a member of, at that time known as the Polka Knights of Ryan. The Polka Knights won first place at the Show Wagon in Brown Park. Somewhere in this time in his life, he picked up the nickname Mouse, as he was known to all of his musician friends. Bob began his professional career when the Little High School Polka Band became known as Frankie Remar and the Polka Knights, and they started playing for dances in 1965. Bob also recorded several LP records with Frankie Remar and the Polka Knights and Frank Kushka and the Boys. He also was on the 1993 video, right here on this stage, recording of the Jim Hovorka Band, which he was honored to do, filling the chair of his idol, George Hovorka, on trombone. The list of bands that Bob performed with is as follows: Frankie Remar, the Polka Knights, the Little Oompas, Frank Kushka and the Boys, Tiny and his 7 Bohemians. We're trying to figure out who that is. The Red Raven Orchestra, the Jolly Yanks, Little Tavern Band, Vern Luddington, Bob Bleck and the Bouncing Checks, Jim Hovorka Band on the video in 1993. Also, the Kavanda Czech Band from Texas on a video in 1994. Ron Natterney, Jim Bonacek, and Johnny Ray Gomez. According to his wife, Jane, who knew him best, Bobby was very musically talented, saxophone, clarinet, trombone, drums, guitar, and piano. He was able to read music and write music. Music was his passion. He spent many hours listening to music, playing music, writing or rewriting music, and recording music. He pretty much learned how to play a lot of his instruments by himself by listening to tapes or reading books. Bob passed away on February 15th, 2011. Sonny, with that, would you please induct Bob Luksha into the Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame? Here to accept on behalf of the family is Bob's brother, Bill.
I recognize your brother, Bob, for all the contributions he made to the local music industry. He's a great guy. We miss him a lot. And hope that he's looking down on us and acknowledging we recognize his time.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Sonny. On behalf of Bob, I'd like to say thank you to everybody out here, especially Sokol Hall for auditorium for allowing this great event to take place, and the past inductees for voting him in. I know he'd be very honored with this. I'm going to try to keep this short because Bob liked things short. If he heard speeches, he wanted them short. If he went to church, he wanted it short. You know, music was always a big part of his life. The polka community here was a big part of his life. I guess I always referred to him as a crazy music person. And I should know, I shared a bedroom with him for many years. I had to step over a maze of musical instruments on the floor and scattered around, not just on his half of the room, but overflowing into mine. It's bedtime, I'm trying to sleep. He's either listening to music or playing music. Music was his passion, especially the horns. Saxophone, trombone, clarinet. He played most notably with Frank Remar and the Polka Knights and Frank Koska and the boys. But later in his life, through his fight, he had about a 10-plus year fight with cancer. And when that was going on, he didn't have the wind any longer to play the horns. He lost the vocal cord through surgery. But music was still with him. At that time, his wife Jane bought him a drum set. And again, like most of the other instruments, taught himself to play the drums. And played many jobs with bands such as the Old Tavern Band. If he was here, I know this award would mean a lot to him. At his wake, I remember talking to Bob Zabilla, who was a drum for Bob, with Bob in many musical events. And one of the things he was talking about was, after Bob passed, he said, I bet Bob's having a good time right now up there with guys like George Dvorak, Rudy Dvorak, and a lot of others whose names I can't remember, but he said they've got one great band up there playing right now for everybody. And you know, I'm sure when our time comes too, Bob, George Dvorak, Rudy Dvorak, all these guys are going to be waiting for us at the gates, and there's going to be one big polka dance going on. With that, on behalf of Bob Luksha, I'd like to thank you. I know all of you in the polka community here were a big part of his life. Family member down here were even a bigger part of his life. From all of us, we'd like to thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, now we got this year's inductees. Would they please come on stage? Rich, come on out here. Eddie, where's Eddie? Oh, he was in the next county. Okay, there was a little bit of discussion about that, about how we was going to do this. The elder statesman on the stage, he gave me the instructions and he said, "Jim, you've never followed instructions very well." Thanks, Ed. I'm glad I got you along. Marla Jean Janik was born on April 15th, 1961, Omaha, Nebraska. Her parents are Dean and Marguerite Hansen, and Marla and her son Rich live in Papillion, Nebraska, and they have a son named Jared. Would you please all stand up? Jared. Also, we can't forget that gal that's got a place in my heart, Lynette. Stand up too. Sister Lynette. Marla attended grade school at Elkhorn and Meade Public Schools and high school at Meade and graduated from Wahoo Bishop Neiman High School in 1979. Marla graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree from Midland Lutheran College in 1983 and then graduated from the University of Iowa with a Master of Arts degree in 1987. Marla started her musical career at age 8 when she took piano lessons. And as she stated, that was the start of everything. Then at age 10, while in the 4th grade, Marla started music in school on trumpet because Dad Dean had an old trumpet in the closet and didn't want to rent another horn. Marla got her first step-up trumpet, a sterling silver Doc Severinsen Getson that her dad bought from Jerry Hosputka. Upon graduation from college, Marla began her teaching career at Anita Community Schools, Anita, Iowa, 1983 to 85, Lewis Central Schools, Council Bluffs, Iowa, 1986 to 1991, St. Columbia's Elementary School in Papillion, Nebraska, 1995 to 97, and Springfield Platteview Community Schools, Springfield, Nebraska, 1999 to the present day. Marla's list of teaching awards and offices held: Southwest Iowa Bandmasters District Representative from 84 through 85, Lewis Central 6th grade select band for the Iowa Bandmasters Convention, 1998. Platteview 6th grade band, 10 consecutive superior ratings at contest. The Platteview Junior High Jazz Band, 10 consecutive superior ratings at contest. Nebraska State Bandmasters Association Middle Level Representative, 2011 to the present, and a contest adjuster for many band contests in Nebraska. Marla played her first professional dance job on July 8, 1978 with the Jim Botnicek Orchestra at the Community Hall in Minden, Iowa. The list of polka bands or orchestras that Marla has played for: Dean Hansen, 34 years, Jim Botnicek, Mustache Joe, Ernie Kuchera, Matt Sletke, Eddie Olch, Chuck Skokin, Alan Valish, Mark Villadal, Little Tavern, Frank Hazuka, Kenny Shuda, Lonnie Pitts, and Ron Natterty. The list of big bands or ballroom swing type bands: Lonnie Lynn, 29 years, Ron Natterty, 14 years, Tommy Bishop, 11 years, Leonard Eby, 9 years, Jimmy B, Greg Spivak, Dennis Wesley, Triple Deuce, Jack Morgan, Bobby Lane, Eddie Skeets, Jan Garber, Leo Lani, and the Duffy Rail Bellerod bands. The list of miscellaneous groups and performances that Marla has done in her career: the Omaha Playhouse Theater, Omaha Big Band, Nebraska Chamber Orchestra, Blair Community Band, Cedar Rapids Community Band, Iowa City Community Band, Eastern Iowa Brass, Iowa Western College Band, Springfield Legion Bugler, Omaha Brass Works Quintet, and Metropolitan Brass Quintet. Marla, while in her freshman year of college was help testing out in her music classes by copying polka music from records and cassette tapes. With these skills, she has written over 200 arrangements for Dean Hansen, Lonnie Lynn, Kenny Nelson Trio, and Eddie Olch. She has also made recordings with Jim Botnicek, Dean Hansen, and Lonnie Lynn. Marla, as if she don't have enough to do, in 2004 played 116 dance jobs, the most she ever played in 1 year. Sonny, would you induct Marla Hansen-Janik into the Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame?
Get the right plaque. Marla Hansen-Janik, my pleasure to give you this plaque in recognition of all your contributions to the polka music industry and things you've done to help promote this. Thank you very much.
We had to prepare some words after this. Let me tell you, it's really, really easy to talk in front of 200 little kids. This is a different ball game here, so I had to be a little more prepared. I can't wing it like I can with the kids. First, I'd like to just thank Jim and Sonny for emceeing and working with me and getting this together for the Polka Hall of Fame, and Sokol Auditorium for sponsoring this. And also all the past inductees who came up to me and said, hey, I voted for you. I appreciate that. He already mentioned my family here. Didn't mention my brother Lonnie and his wife Denise. They were here earlier, but I was supposed to play tonight with him over at the Livestock Exchange building. But Ron already had me on deck to play here tonight, so he had to get a substitute for me. So he's playing probably in about a half hour at the Livestock. So someone's subbing for me tonight. I also like to recognize my husband, Rich Janik, his families, most of his entire family's here tonight. And that would be Eldon and Ricky Wolf, Chris and Michelle and their two little ones, Carson and Hudson, Mark and Katrina and their little one, Noel. And of course, the youngest, Eric and Michelle. Eric had to work tonight but couldn't be here, but that's about almost the entire family. It's kind of small, but it's nice. So but they are, I don't know, they're sitting around here. So there they are in the back there with the little ones. I also kind of wish I had my older brother Murray, who was killed in an accident in '79. I wish he could have been here. We played music together for a very, very short time. When my dad started his polka band up in March of '79, we played just a few jobs, and then it was in that accident, so I wish he would have been here tonight to see this, because he played the sax and the tenor, just like my sister Lynette, with Mustache Joe, actually, he's who he played with. Also, I need to especially thank my mom for taking me to all those piano lessons, and what was kind of interesting is she always would take me and sit in the car while I did my 30-minute little lesson and stuff, and even up to Fremont, which was about 18 miles. And then once in a while, Dad would take me to the lessons. And he wouldn't sit in the car. That was kind of scary. He'd have to come into the lesson and sit in the other room to listen to see how I was actually doing at the lesson. And I'm sure I had words about it on the way home, like, oh, you missed that sharp or that flat or something. He would come in once in a while to listen, and it's a scary thing, really. So, also, I want to thank my folks for taking me to all those dance jobs. They took me to dance jobs here at Sokol, and we went to Offs Hall in Bennington, and Danker Ballroom in Elkhorn, Playmore Ballroom, and Starlight Ballroom. And if you look at the front here in this big old black and white picture, you'll see a picture of my dad in that Sokol brass band. I don't know exactly how old he was in there, but I'm thinking maybe I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. He's in the back row holding the crash cymbals like this. And because I know he got his first button accordion before I was even born, because my mom said that he was practicing that thing when she was pregnant with me, and it was driving her crazy. He was practicing the button box. So, another important person I'd like to recognize is probably the most influential person to me as far as going into the teaching business. I've been teaching a long, long time, and I still plan to teach until hopefully I'm in my 60s. But I have a very special person here tonight that I always say, you got me into this business. But when I was in 8th grade, I had a young teacher by the name of Doug Johnson, who had just graduated from UNO. He took a teaching job out at Meade High School. 22, I'm in 8th grade, and I had him 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. And to this day, he's still teaching at Creighton Prep High School, and he's here tonight with his wife, Mary. And could you stand up, Doug and Mary, up there, way up on the balcony. I always say he's my idol. He's one of the greatest band directors we have here in Nebraska. And he's one that kind of introduced me to some very challenging trumpet music. I looked at it and I said, I can't play this. This is way too hard. And he would say, I know you can play that music. And I worked at it, and I eventually got to win some contests and stuff with it. And I just know it's because he pushed me, and also he was such an inspiration as a band director that I said, I think I'd like to be a band director too. So I'm really glad he's here, and I thank him for all the inspiration. Another big thanks, of course, goes to Jim Botnicek, who gave me that first chance to play with his polka band. And to tell you a couple little stories, we really picked on him because he took an awful large number of young people with him when we went to jobs. We're talking, we were all in our teens or early 20s, and then he would take us on the road with his station wagon and trailer, and we'd do these jobs with. And I had one job that we went down to Ernie's Polka's Palace in Oklahoma, and it was just a whole bunch of us. Actually, there was only 2 older people on it. Would have been at the time Jim and Chuck Skokin played tuba. The rest of us were very, very young. And we were always pulling pranks on Jim all the time. Always he was the wonder he even put up with us. But the first one, as we were down there, we had to carry all the equipment out there, and then we had to wait for Jim. He's the one that loaded the trailer. So the trailer's empty. Jim grabs like a speaker or something. He goes back into the trailer, and there's Michael Brechka. He's all planned out. Closes the trailer, locks it up, and there goes Greg Troyan behind the wheel of that Woody station wagon in the parking lot, and he drove him all crazy all over the parking lot and hit every pothole while Jim was in the trailer locked up. Do you remember that, Jim? It's no wonder he took us home on that. One of our first jobs, the first time I was away from home, he took us and this is one of the things you don't ever want to have happen. The ballroom's going to get the rooms for you. So the ballroom gets the rooms, and I'm about a teenager, and he drops us off after the job. We go to our room, we hit the switch, and about 50 cockroaches, like that. And I go, oh my gosh, and I'm away from home, and I'm still in high school. What are we going to do? So the other gal who was playing sax with me, Jeannie Hopkins, she goes, oh gosh, this is scary. So her and I, we stayed in all of our clothes, and we left the lights on, and we slept with our sunglasses on. Then I told my mom about it. She says, you're going to open up that suitcase in the garage. With my dad, we have other bug stories with my dad. Every time we went with my dad, he always got us some interesting places to play. They always had the names of animals. And this first particular one was called the sheep shed. And right there it tells you right away what's going to happen at the sheep shed. But anyway, we go and play our dance job. We get done about 2 o'clock in the morning. You come back there, this is later on, and my husband Rich and I were sharing a room, and and we were married by then. We were just sharing a room. We were married. And we got back to the room, and we're laying there in bed, and there's about 2 or 3 crickets. Chirp, 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 chirp. And we're in this kind of a cheaper motel. What are we going to do? We can't sleep. So here we are in our pajamas, and Rich is taking out an air conditioner unit out of the motel so we can get the crickets out of there so we can sleep. So we got then the crickets call came into the room. It was a mess. It was a mess. And there were some other places that, but later on we got to, nicer rooms and stuff. But that is funny. And all these stories are like always when you're on the road. But when we were on the road, we also had some great times. We battled Ray Dorschner and the Rainbow Valley Dutchman up in Milwaukee for the German Fest. That was a fun time. We had a very, very good band at that time with Alan Balish and Kenny and Leslie and Joe Chada, who I talked to. He called me this week. And my dad and my brother Lonnie, and we used to go up and play the German Fest and battle them on the stage, and that was a very, very fun time on those battle dances. So something great to remember. Again, I can go on. There's lots of stories, but I just want to say I'm really honored to get this award, and it's neat to be there. So if you look at the list, there aren't very many women on there, and it's neat to be a woman on the list. It's also kind of neat, if you ever look on this plaque, Jim called me and he wanted to know what I wanted to have on the plaque. And I decided to put Marla Hansen Janik on there because if you look at the list, I think it's the only father-daughter combination in the Polka Hall of Fame. So it's with my dad on there. So just associated with that. Everywhere I go, no one really knows me by Marla Janik. They just come up to me and they say, "Aren't you Dean Hansen's daughter?" I get that all the time. So, yes, I do. So anyway, I do want to thank everybody for coming, especially all the musicians and people that, the inductees that voted for me, and all you folks that keep coming out to the dances and supporting us wherever we be playing polka band stuff. We're still playing some polkas. I think my dad has one in a month. We play another polka job. So thank you for coming out, and thank you for being here today.
Okay. The next inductee, Richard A. Forrell Sr. was born on July 11th, 1931, Omaha, Nebraska. His parents were Louis and Stella Forrell. Rich and his wife Mary Ann Sullivan Forrell, who will be married 61 years in October, live in Omaha. Yeah. Would Mary Ann, where's she at? Stand up. Stand up, Mary Ann. There she is. They have 5 children, Rick, Laura, Ann, Joe, and Tom. Would they please stand up? They also have 15 grandchildren, 1 granddaughter-in-law, and Rich's pride and joy, great-granddaughter Virginia, who is almost 1 year old. Rich attended grade and high school at St. Joseph's Catholic School, where he graduated in 1949. Rich got his first drum set for Christmas at age 3. And on March 5th, 1935, his picture with the drums was in the Omaha Bee News. Now, how many people remember the Omaha Bee News? Yeah, there's a few of you out there. Yeah. His parents would take him and his drums to every dance the Sparta Orchestra was playing in South Omaha. he was kind of their mascot, and they let him play his drums on the stage with them. This lasted only about a year. At age 10, Rich took lessons from G.E.O. Smith for 3 months, and during that time, Mr. Smith arranged for Rich to set in with the Sammy Kaye Orchestra at the Orpheum Theater between movies. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? When he was 11, Rich played with the American Legion Post 31 Drum and Bugle Corps for about 2 years. Rich began his professional career in 1948 when he joined the Meadowlarks Band. In 1949, he began playing for the Red Raven Orchestra until 1952, when in January he entered the service. Rich, in 1955, joined the Jim Hovorka Band and played for them until 1969, when the band disbanded. In November of 1993, Rich came out of retirement to play on the video for the Hovorka Band right here at Sokol Auditorium. The list of bands who Rich filled in for included the Sparta Orchestra, Vern Luddington, Golden Preg, J.K., and as a fill-in at 2 of 13th Street's most popular places, Chops Restaurant and Voselka's Bar. Rich was a member of the original Sokol Omaha Czech Brass Band from Brown Park. That's the picture you see up here, ladies and gentlemen. That was held here, their first concert, on Sunday, October 3rd, 1965, with an attendance of over 1,200 people. Can you imagine that, ladies and gentlemen? I told Dan, I said, gosh, I hope that as the place was filling up today, I said, maybe somebody's trying to relive that 1,200 people. But anyway, Sonny, would you please induct Rich Forel into the Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame?
Rich, it's my pleasure to give this award to you. I remember seeing you here last year, standing back there by that door. Rich thought that this was just a place for only the people that were inducted into the Hall of Fame. He didn't know that he could be part of this group. And lo and behold, his name was put in nomination. And here we are today inducting Rich Forel into the Hall of Fame, Polka Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
First off, I want to thank Jim Botnicek for making me follow the queen of polka music. You told me I had a minute to talk. I could nowhere near it. Oh well. I do have one person here that I have to thank, and I'm not going to ask him to stand up because he's 100 years old. But Eddie Svoboda, back in the 40s, gave me my first break and taught me everything I knew. Thank you, Ed. After I got out of the service, old Jim Hovorka hired me. His son George called. He said, would I like to play with their band? I said, yeah, I got nothing to do. So I never met none of the fellas in the band at all. And our first job was right here in this hall. I come walking in with my drums and get up on the stage, and here's big old Jim. I think most of you might know he was kind of a grumpy guy. He said, who are you? I said, Rich Forel. Oh, the new drummer. George thinks he runs his band, but I'm the boss. He scared the living daylights out of me. I don't know. But one more person, and I don't know how to keep saying this. The one that kicked me out of the house on Saturdays to go play, to watch the kids, my wife, Mary Ann. We missed a lot of New Year's Eve together, but she was up sometimes when I come home with lipstick on my coat or stuff. You know, all these orchestra wives at midnight wanted to kiss you. And I thank Virginia for keeping quiet while this was going on. And I'll tell you, my 15 grandkids, my granddaughter-in-law, and my kids are all here, all 30 of them. Thank you.
Yep, Rich and I worked together out at that famous can manufacturing plant. Oh, you worked and I didn't. Oh, this next guy, I don't know. I'll tell you. This is. The trip to Oakland, Nebraska was the most enjoyable day of my life, I'm telling you. I learned more that day than you could put together in 100 years. Eddie Hanna was born on September 15, 1927, Table Rock, Nebraska. His parents were Ed and Anna Hupka Hanna. Eddie and his wife Betty LaVere Rademacher Hanna live in Oakland, Nebraska. Betty, would you please stand up? Look at that beautiful woman. They have 5 children: Deborah Hanna Anderson, Teresa Hanna Rogers, Thomas Hanna, Stephen Hanna, and Daniel Hanna. Would they please stand up? All the kids. They have 9 grandchildren and 13 great-grandchildren. Eddie attended grade school and high school in Table Rock, where he graduated in 1945. He then went to the University of Nebraska until he entered the service. Upon his return from the service, he attended Prue State College, where he was listed among the who's who in American universities and colleges. Eddie graduated as a music major in 1950. Eddie got his first saxophone at age 10 and started lessons while in the 5th grade. By the time he was in the 8th grade, he was playing with the Old Timers and performing at the Table Rock Opera House. Eddie played in the Table Rock High School Band from 1937 to 1945, and as a soloist received a highly superior at the National Music Contest that consisted of musicians from 18 states. At the time, he was just in the 9th grade. Upon graduation from college, Eddie taught at Hamburg, Iowa and West Point, Nebraska Public Schools. His band at West Point was considered one of the best high school bands in Nebraska. In 1955, he went into the insurance business with State Farm, but his love of music and teaching young people still was in his heart, so he took a part-time teaching job at Craig, Nebraska. He started an instrumental program, and within 2 years, his band won a superior rating. His vocal and instrumental groups won 12 out of possible 14 superior ratings. Eddie's first professional job was in 1940, when he was only in the 8th grade. The band was the Lad Threchek Orchestra from down in Table Rock, Nebraska. He also played for the Table Rock Old Timers Polka Band. While in the service, he played in the 124th AGF Band. Was considered one of the best high school bands in Nebraska. In 1955, he went into the insurance business with State Farm, but his love of music and teaching young people still was in his heart, so he took a part-time teaching job at Craig, Nebraska. He started an instrumental program, and within 2 years, his band won a superior rating. His vocal and instrumental groups won 12 out of possible 14 superior ratings. Eddie's first professional job was in 1940, when he was only in the 8th grade. The band was the Lad Threchek Orchestra from down in Table Rock, Nebraska. He also played for the Table Rock Old Timers Polka Band. While in the service, he played in the 124th AGF Band. In 1948, while at Peru State College, he started the famous Tommy Bishop Orchestra that entertained dancers until New Year's Eve in 2009. During the past several years, Eddie has conducted church choirs and community choirs that have traveled to Washington, D.C. and Mount Rushmore, South Dakota. He also has been active in the community players of Oakland. In the book written by Dr. Vladimir Kuchera of the University of Nebraska, Eddie Hanna, formerly of Table Rock, Nebraska, and now living in Oakland, Nebraska, was listed as one of the outstanding musicians in Nebraska of Czech descent. Sonny, would you induct Mr. Eddie Hanna into the Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame?
My pleasure to present this plaque to you for your contribution to the polka music industry, for all you've done, music, a number of years, and for your Czech heritage. We appreciate all you've done. Thank you very much.
Jim promised that there'd be a little stand I could stand up on so you can see me. Can you? I'm up here, in case you don't see me. Nope, I can't leave it right there. You know, Jim talked about that wonderful trip that he made to Oakland, Nebraska. And before he came up and talked to me, I did enjoy the free lunch. But the first thing he told me, he said, Ed, you know, you are so old anymore that really the first thing you should tell the people, because you're not going to be the first one on the program, that you might ask the people, now does anyone need a bathroom break right now? If you do, hold hands, and if there's enough, we'll take a break and go back. Well, if that's the case, we're going to go on. Anyway, the next thing Jim did, we started talking, and I felt quite confident that I could get up and maybe say a few words. And the first thing he did to me, he said, you know, Eddie, he said, when we have someone of your age, we usually write something out for you so that you got something to say. So, the first thing he said, be sure and wear a suit and tie. Now, Betty and I are hosting out at Mahoney State Park, and I don't have a suit. And this jacket I bought down when there was an old J.C. Penney store on 13th Street. Do some of you remember it? And I paid $5 for it. But the first thing when I told Betty, and she looked at that, she said, well, what did he say about underwear? I said, I told him it was none of his business. Then the other thing he said, be sure and thank your family. So family, if I haven't said it before, thank you, and thank you. You've had to put up with a real crazy, when I had my radio show, polka show, I always went as Crazy Ed. It's on Sunday afternoon. And told a few stories and everything. But when you talk about stories, I see our daughter Debbie down here. When she was a freshman at the University of Nebraska, we did not have a keyboard person. So Ozzy, our bass man, would pick her up from the dorm. And then he'd bring her back like at 2:30 in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. So my mother, when we had a Christmas together, we started talking about that, and Debbie said, you know, Dad, I wonder what those students think when this old man comes and picks me up, and then he brings me back at 3 o'clock in the morning. And you know, my mother, very seriously, she thought about it about 1 minute, and she said, you know what, Debbie, if they say anything, you just show them the money. And then the fourth thing I was supposed to say, I need to be there by 5 p.m. And we made it at 4:30, Jim, so we were here. So, the first thing I want to say, and I want them to come up in front, even though you guys may not like to stand. But our band was always a band of brothers. We were always, and I could depend on every one of them. Starting out with a guy that's in the Hall of Fame. He tried to play sax with us one night and he was horrible. And so Fritz Serb, that was playing lead trumpet, he said, listen, I'll just tell him to come back and play trumpet with me. But ladies and gentlemen, you know him, Glenn Coates should get up here in front. Now, I'm disappointed. You notice how slow he walks anymore? You need to see a chiropractor. Well, then we had to have a guy in the band, because one thing we did in our band that I really don't think too many people did, but always, no matter what I could book a job for, we were all family and we always divided the money. And most of the time, I would know what we were going to be paid, and I would bring cash to the band. And then we had a good guy and a great musician like Kenny Mosier. Get up here, Kenny Mosier. And Kenny would pass out the money, so no matter what we got paid, we were all treated equal. The only one that wasn't treated equal is because Glenn did all of our arranging, and normally we paid him $1.50 arrangement. And of course, we're missing, but he's up there with God someplace by the pearly gate. Fritz Serb and Fritz Serb. He was the one in 1955 when I was teaching at West Point, and he wanted to start again, and he said, why don't you get your band together? And that's how this thing kind of started. And then we found a guy, because he had a girlfriend in Lyons, Nebraska. I don't think he cared about playing with the Tommy Bishop band, but he had this good-looking chick at Lyons, Mr. Paul Balls. Get up here. And Dick Kaiser isn't here tonight, and he probably had something to do at Boys Town or whatever it is. And then we had Ozzy on tuba, and Ozzy passed away in December. And so I'm left with those three hard And then what happened in the last part, along came two angels. And they were, I'm so glad, Dino, that it happened that way and that you had a daughter, because she was a lifesaver and she just worked and played and did everything. And here tonight, and she really deserves it. Here she is in the Hall of Fame. Well, it's going to be long. The other thing I want to tell you, I have always been real proud to say, Yasin Czech. And there's a lot of people sometimes who will not stand up and do that. And one thing in my musical experience, it always bothered me because so many people sometimes would laugh about polkas. And I have always had a saying, in music, there are a lot of people that can play the notes, but I tell you this, they cannot play the music. So don't let anyone ever tell any of you about polka music, because like I said, if it's played properly and if you play the notes, and we had an experience with that. One night we had a sub in the band, and I didn't know who he was, and so after a couple sets, he played quite well. And I went over to Ozzy and over to Dick and the piano, and I said, who is that guy playing second trumpet? And he said, well, that's Lorne Johnson. And I said, well, does he teach school, or what does he do next? And they looked at me and they started to laugh, and they said, well, for your information, that's Lieutenant Colonel Lorne Johnson, commander of the SAC Air Force Band. And I will tell you, that night, for the first time, my fingers really did work on that saxophone. But really and truly, and I don't know if these guys know it, he helped us out several times, and we would play a polka once in a while. And little Eddie Hanna from Table Rock, Nebraska, really had no business telling Lieutenant Colonel of the SAC Force Band, the leader, and so on. And I did one night, because he was one of the greatest guys in the world, and I said, you know what, Lorne? When we play a polka, you play the notes, but you don't play the music. And Lorne, being such a great guy, he laughed and he said, Eddie, I know what you're talking about. So it does happen on there. And then I would like to mention the first time I took Betty down to Table Rock, Nebraska. And it was before we were married, and it was on Memorial Day. And so the old timers, Emo Rupsteinig and Ruder B. Schnabel and Tom Croft and all of them, said, Eddie, you're coming home from Peru. You come and play with us. So we went out to the Czech cemetery and had the memorial service. And when it was over with, we were walking towards the car, and Betty said, what were you guys doing out there? And I said, well, what do you mean what we were doing? Well, she said, you were playing polkas and you played a waltz? And I said, Betty, if you would have thought about it, and if you would have looked at the people, when we play, for an example, Percy, and we played the yep, and got it just the way it should be. I said, if you would have looked around, you would have seen Dedicek, Babichka, and those that were their sons and daughters looking back and crying and thinking. And I said it was not done out of disrespect. But one thing I often thought about, the Czech cemetery is on the highway. So I imagine a lot of people came past on Armistice and thought we were having a dance out at the Czech cemetery, which we weren't. But anyway, music, as Martin Luther said, next to the Word of God, music deserves the highest praise. And you people that have that Czech music in your heart and in your mind, and you play that Czech music as it should be played, and that you're doing a great, great thing. And I salute all of you. I salute all of you that are in the Hall of Fame, and all of you good people that are here and back the music and still dance out there, and it's so much fun to see you out there. So the only thing, like I used to say on the radio program, and I don't know if it's even right, but when we were playing the last tune with the Tommy Bishop, I would say this is Crazy Ed and Spy Boy.
Are you guys having a good time out there? Is everybody? Boy, it's a great event. You got to give yourself a big hand. This is an outstanding crowd. Give yourself a big hand for supporting this polka music. Thank you very much. Now, as I say, we cannot do this kind of event without the support from people like yourselves. I say this as a broken record, and I know the musicians can support me on this. We would love to get the young people involved in this music, and it's been on my mind, and I know it's just a difficult thing. So if you can introduce this music to your younger people, your grandchildren or your children, it would be a blessing in disguise, because once it's done, it's done. I mean, as we get older, as we play dances, you know, the crowd is getting older and older, and so keep that in mind. One of the things that came up is that people was asking, how do we induct these candidates into the Polka Hall of Fame? And how that's done, just briefly, each year we have a list of people that have been previously nominated, put into different categories. This year, like Jim said, we decided to create a deceased category because there was several people that were listed over the years that had passed away and had contributed significantly to the polka music industry, but had been overlooked. So we decided to do that, and I think it's going to be a good way to pick people that have done so much for polka music, and we'll be able to select one out of that category. Then we have three other categories that we put musicians into. And by the way, all these musicians are placed into nomination by the people that have been previously inducted. So they're not just picked out of the air. People like Jim and Mark Villadal and Elmer Nimitz and all these, Tony Picorni, they put people in a nomination, and then we as members will vote on them. So there's a sideman category, there's a band leader category, and then there's a polka promoter and radio personality category. So those are the things that go into this, and each year I will go ahead and send out listing of all the people that have been nominated in the past and also in the present, because when they get this nomination form, they can pick the people they want off the list that have been previously nominated, but they can also add someone they think is deserving to be placed in the nomination. So it's done that precisely that way. They mail those back to us, and then when I get all of the forms back, Jim and I get together and we count the individuals that have been voted upon, and the ones that get the most votes are the ones that are placed like they are here up on the stage. So I want you to once again congratulate all of these people that have been nominated and placed in the Soca Hall of Fame. They've done a tremendous thing for polka music. I also want to thank the Soca Omaha board members for allowing us to be here today and having a free dance induction ceremony. I also want to thank Mr. Ron Natterney for his fine band playing music. And keep in mind that next year we will have soon the Blue River Chicks here on September the 8th. And also we have a website now for the Soca Omaha Polka Hall of Fame. And I want to thank Mr. Lee Chalupa. Where are you at, Lee? In the audience? Anyway, he's developed a website for us, and you can go out to the Omaha Polka Hall of Fame and click on that, and you'll be able to get information about what's going on with this Polka Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.